Welcome to the first annual 2025 Women's Life Summit. You guys, we are so thrilled to be able to bring information, education, guest experts, because what each and every one of us have probably found ourselves is it's hard to sift and sort through everything that's out there in the world today, the media today, the podcasts, the books, you name it. But also, so much that has been out there has been done for other populations and not us women in our age group. And we just get like, oh, well, you do it too. It's just okay for you too. And to be able to have guest experts that say, no, where we are in life is different, the time is different, our bodies are different. And even within that, what we hope for you guys to get out of these 2 days is to realize that our bodies are unique. Our bodies have different blueprints. Our bodies have different chemistry and expectations of how we respond to things and what we like. And so, even though you're going to hear from so many experts, it's looking up where your life is and what fits and where your current struggles are, how you can get better, how you can build upon the things you're doing well. And maybe some things are going to completely change your paradigm. I know for me, that if somebody were to ask me 10 years ago to regulate my nervous system, I would be like, what are you even talking about? And they're going to teach me tapping, which one of our great speakers is going to be working with us tomorrow, you guys, in a session. I'd be like, I don't even know. And sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we learn, or our body has a breakdown, or we're helping a friend through a situation. So many of you are coming because you have health struggles, or maybe you're feeling okay, or maybe you're feeling fine. And fine is my four-letter word that I have come to know and appreciate that every single time I want to say that word and it comes out of my body, it's because I haven't dropped in and really felt my feelings. But I've used that word my entire life for my physical health, my mental health, my work life of, oh, I'm fine, oh, I'm fine, oh, I'm fine, meaning I got this. I can do it. I got it. So I don't want anybody's help. I didn't need to feel anything different, right? I was just in my lane and going. And what I realized is that was robbing me from my life. It was robbing me from the richness of the goodness that it could be because I was stuck on, say, a scale of 0 to 10. I was stuck in at 5 and I was living life feeling 5. So it did keep me away from feeling like the ones and twos that maybe aren't so great times in our lives. But I never actually then got to feel the sevens, eight, nines, and tens, which I do today. So I hope now my whole daughter did a college speak on that my mom like won't let us use the F word, the four-letter F word, and the teacher's like, "What?" Which I won't let them use that either. But no longer do I want them to answer me with "I'm fine, mom," right? Because there's something more out of that. So, in these 2 days, with all of that in mind, the other big thing is Heidi and I want to empower you to learn how to ask questions. As women from a very young age, we were always taught to be, seen and not heard. Don't question your teacher. Don't question this person. Just do it. And it has robbed our ability to problem solve, be critical thinkers. Go like, well, that's just not, I don't feel like it's for me. Even if it's something that Heidi and I have taught or coached you on, we need to know, what is your body responding like? And giving feedback and saying this may or may not be what I need, or am I doing it wrong, or what can I improve upon or modify? We want to build your muscle of thinking. We want to empower you to literally become the CEO of your health, because you're with yourself 24/7 and you're the only person with you 24/7. And I think any of us that have ever, no matter if we've had children or not, but we kind of sometimes say like, oh, I have this intuition, right? And you know something like about like your kids or whatever. We sometimes don't use that on ourselves because we don't spend the time to pause and listen, which we will be talking about throughout these 2 days with so many speakers. And so we honor you that you're here. We're so glad that you're here. And in this 2 days, have your pen, have your paper, jot things down, be able to ask questions. If you're in the VIP session at the end of the day, we are going to open it all up for full board to question and answer with Dr. Heidi and I. And there's no question off limits. And then on Friday, we'll have a private session of 90 minutes that Heidi's going to do a deep dive into peptides as well as have more Q&A. But we together decided, for the past couple years, as Heidi and I have met, and Heidi and I both had practices, and we're going to each tell our story in a second, we realized that we had something in common of a burning desire to specifically help women and a burning desire that it can be easier and we can feel better. And so, how would I take my expertise and Heidi's expertise, and over the past couple years, figured this out as we've had masterminds and we've had some in-person summits and we've had memberships, and we're like, we want to bring women more knowledge. So, this is such a great way to have a summit to bring more experts in to empower women so that really you can make the best health choices for you. So today, Heidi and I do have a membership that we run that we meet weekly, and we too in that membership bring in guest experts every single month on a variety of topics. But what Heidi and I have found throughout our lives, and now we see it in the women that we help, is when we've had coaches and trainers and mentors, we do better. And when we're in community of people together like this that are all wanting to raise the awareness collectively together, and we're in a safe space, that it's respected, that we're all challenging and wanting to get healthier, then it's even a better, juicier place because you have this community that has your back. So we hope that you feel this in these 2 days. It comes from out of the love, truly, from Dr. Heidi in my heart. And Heidi, anything else you want to say about that? And I'll do a little mini introduction about me before I do a kickoff introduction as we get going here. But anything about just the overall summit in general?
Yeah, it's just, this has been a buildup basically of a lot of the little things that Kellie and I are doing and the ideas we want to bring in community, the conversation of women and the strength of women, the power of women, and how, the world just wouldn't exist the same way without us. And to just get some answers that were kind of largely ignored in the standard medicine health field. And it's time to get our voices heard and get some answers. And because Kellie and I can't know it all, we don't know it all. We rely on these experts that we've encountered in our lives and the universe has brought to us. And we're just so excited to share them and their information with you because we think it's profound and can really affect maybe not your life completely, but you're going to run into someone who's going to need that information. And that's what's so lovely about community is you think, I can't use that, but okay, I'll tuck it away. And next thing you know, you're sitting on a plane with somebody and they're going, oh, well, I'm experiencing this, this, and this. And you're like, I was just listening to this summit and this is what they said. So while you may be sitting here thinking this information, it's not for me, it's not my age group. It's those menopausal women, those older ladies, I'm not there yet. Tuck it away. You will use it and you'll be surprised at the frequency that you will and that conversation will come up. So just dive in, take notes. There's no silly questions. We love questions. We love topics. Um, just bring it. We're here for you.
Oh, so good, Heidi. So good. So many of you guys know me. Some of you don't know me. You may have come through me. You may have come and wound up here through Dr. Heidi. You may have come through here through one of our speakers, or maybe you just found us on social media and you're like, this sounds really cool. I'm gonna meet these ladies and I'm gonna see what this is all about. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Kellie Lupsha. I'm a physical therapist by background. I've been a PT for over 30 years, and I've really helped people anywhere from being a hands-on physical therapist and then running hospitals and then teaching around the world. I've ended up landing and building a private practice with my husband, and we serve stroke, traumatic brain injury, concussion survivors, other neurologic disorders, brain cancer clients, people who were very sick. I loved what I did. I had a passion that I could help them recover their lives again. But what I found after my dad was sick is there's all these causes into why we've gotten so sick. And what if what I uncovered could start helping people avoid that and live well and thrive? There may be things in life that come our way that's unexpected, but how can actually we set up this internal system to the best of our ability, right? To have the best operating system. Therefore, we're reducing our risks of whatever thing may come our way and just feeling the aliveness of life because I saw that was really missing. So I took all of my knowledge, I did a deep dive in personal development, I did a deep dive in coaching, and I really have made a shift out of my clinic and really help women in coaching. And as I did my kind of due diligence, tiptoeing from 40 into 50, and this year I'm coming up on 53 in 2 months, is I saw and knew and had to take a recollection of where I was at 40 and thought if I didn't make any changes in my life, I don't think I'm going to wake up 10 years from now feeling better unless I start to make some changes. So as I saw that and realized it was easier than I thought, there actually are a lot of answers and a lot of small micro habits that allow us to get where we're going to get. It completely was like, I want to share this with other women. And so again, I'm now passionate about teaching people to become the CEO of their health. And it's just a privilege and a blessing to be here with all of you ladies. So I'll share a little bit more. And I've got a session later that you and I get to jump in. And we're going to do some work together today, which I'm excited about. But we're going to lead off with our first speaker who I'm going to tell you guys, and she's going to say, oh, you guys, you don't need to say all that. I'm going to read her bio. But before I read her bio, there are, we meet people in our lives. And sometimes if we're not really paying attention, people can come and go. And you may never really have had the opportunity to really meet them. But if you're open to receiving and understanding people and making connections, it's truly beautiful how somebody can come into your life for a reason that maybe you don't know. Well, 4 years ago, more than that, because COVID was 5 years ago, I happened to be in a group I decided to take on and do this group with. You probably all know Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. They were doing an online program, and when we were all in COVID, everybody started doing online programs. And in this program, there was thousands of people, honestly. And through that, I can't even exactly tell you to the T, but Heidi might be able to. Um, Heidi and I ended up in a chat conversation. And then I just said, oh, asked a few more questions and we asked questions. And then we finally were like, oh, let's Zoom and meet each other. And that has been one of the most profound days of my life because without meeting Heidi and transforming and doing what I'm doing, there's something about, just like you have a best friend or a spouse, or there's this energy you don't have with everybody. That's what I found with Heidi. And the real beauty that I found is not only did she become one of my dear friends, colleagues, mentors, and doctors, she knows our family. um, One of the most beautiful souls and people I've ever met in my life. And sometimes when you meet medical practitioners, they're not very, they don't lead with their heart, right? It's a little bit like, I know everything. Not everybody by any means, but to have the grace and compassion in a practitioner that is so brilliant is very hard to find. And we have found it in Dr. Heidi that I'm just blessed that she's with all of us. So of every guest expert, we're all amazing in our own right. But I have to say, Heidi is extra special. That's my personal intro. Now you guys are going to get a real intro. And before I even let Heidi talk, because many of you know me but don't know Heidi, or one of the other guest speakers that just don't know Heidi. So Dr. Heidi Ratzabal is a naturopathic practitioner and an Institute for Functional Medicine certified practitioner, and she's board certified by the American Alternative Medical Association. She's a doctor of pastoral therapy. She's a certified gluten practitioner, and she has about 10 more certifications. But she has her own practice called The Science of Thriving in Dallas, Texas. Her interest is really alternative medicine. It was really heightened as she was a professional athlete. She was going to be an Olympic hopeful and got injured, and it led her to become a professional cyclist in France and got to cycle for the world champion of France for 7 years. Absolutely amazing. And how it changed her life led her to want to change other people's life. But she has worked closely with so many modalities and practitioners of modalities on the outside of conventional medicine, and all of that she brings into her functional medicine is so unique because most functional medicine practitioners come from an MD practice, a very rigid conventional medicine practice of functional medicine. If you're taking somebody already in the natural space, it's if you're looking through a lens that most people don't get to look through, and that's what brings a lot of Heidi's brilliance out, is the lens that most people just can't see. So, Heidi, thank you for saying yes to me, for the summit, for all these ladies. And you guys, without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Heidi Aratsaval.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Kelly. I did not expect that. Blew me away. Got a little verklempt, but thank you so much. It has been an equal honor and highlight to meet you. And like you said, when I met Kelly, it is like, don't I know you? Haven't we met before? Because it was so familiar and so easy. Yeah, it was just so easy to be together, to have conversations. We are constantly all the time are saying, "Hey, I was thinking this," and the other one laughing, saying, "Yeah, absolutely, I was thinking that too." Even today, I'm going to side note here that even today, she goes, "I have all my drinks with me." And I said, "Oh, really?" She goes, "Yeah, I got my Axio and I got, oh, I'm trying this new LMNT drink. Do you have it?" And I just wrote, that's exactly what I have, my Axio and my LMNT today. So we do things like this all the time, which is funny. And I'm sure you all have friends that you're just in sync like that. And really, our efforts and our desires to help women to just help people in their lives and recovery and restoration to optimal health has been in sync. And this is a product, hopefully, of that. But like she said, I do come into functional medicine from an athletic background, having been injured and told it's over. Um, it was through acupuncture, herbology, meditation, diet, lifestyle changes that really brought me back to life, not only as what I thought I was, I'm an athlete and suddenly it was ending, but to an athlete performing better than I ever imagined I could in an arena that was full of incredible people, incredible athletes that I learned every time I put my racing skills up against theirs. I learned something new, and it was just an honor to be a part of that, to have that a part of my life. But it brought me to thinking, hey, if I can feel this good, and it seems pretty straightforward. When I retire, I want to do this for a living. I want to talk about these concepts, these kinds of things that you can make small changes to make impacts to better health. And as I aged, it became more and more important to keep diving, keep learning, keep understanding, because truly that perimenopause that maybe some of you have already been through, maybe some of you are in the middle of, maybe some of you are at the beginning of, or at the end, is a complete transition of life, right? But what I do every day is to help people do this, women do this transition, men and women, because the men go through menopause. We just talk about it differently for men. But all of this brought me to functional medicine. So I started as an acupuncturist and felt like I needed more in my toolkit. Then I went back to naturopathic school. And then I met a doctor here who said, you really need to go to functional medicine, the Institute of Functional Medicine. That's what you do. And I said, what is functional medicine? And she basically said, it's what you do. It's grounded and rooted in naturopathic medicine and looking for root cause. And I thought, wow, there's actually other people that think like this. I thought we were a very small niche group. But when I went to the Institute of Functional Medicine and followed her guidelines, and I consider her a mentor, I found my people. And so that's what I want to do today is just bring out sort of the idea of functional medicine. Some of you are very familiar with it. Some of you are kind of familiar with it, but I want to really bring an understanding of what's the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine. Because functional medicine is patient-centered approach. So it seeks to address causes of disease rather than just focusing on the symptoms, right? And trying to do a pill for an ill. Functional medicine really looks at the patient, takes into consideration their biology, their genetics, their environmental factors, their values. So where do you get to go to a doctor and talk about your values? Like, this is important to me and this is not important to me, or I have no understanding of this. What's your spirituality? Because all of that in functional medicine makes an impact. It makes an impact on your mindset, on how your immune system functions, and how your microbiome survives. And we're going to hear about our microbiome. So there's so much that goes into functional medicine because we're looking at the functions of the body and not just an organ system that conventional medicine will do. So it's more patient-centered. We take into all those accounts. It's a systems biology approach where we recognize that it works as a total system. We don't just separate it out. Well, that's gastroenterology, that's cardiology. It's a whole system, and all of the parts are working together. So where in that system do we have frailty? Do we have miscommunication? Do we have an overabundance of something? Is there a buildup somewhere that we need to work out? And functional medicine is fabulous in changing these things so that the system works better. Um, yeah, so we work on function rather than pathology. And what's interesting is with functional medicine now is many doctors are starting to incorporate the idea of functional medicine or diet and lifestyle components into their regular standard medical practice because they're ahead of it. They know that it works. And oftentimes in standard medicine, we have to wait for the disease to show up. But the reality is, disease takes 10 to 15 years, sometimes up to 20 in cancer and things like that, to actually progress to the point where we can diagnose it. And standard medicine cannot actually treat you because it's not a treatment until you have a diagnosis. So we're always playing a little bit behind the eight ball once we get that diagnosis. And in functional medicine, we unwind that and say, okay, well, how did we get here? Let's go through the path, see what went wrong. Let's look at diet. Let's look at exercise. Let's look at movement, sleep, mindset, brain health, genetics. Let's add all this in to find out how we got here. And standard medicine always has to work a little bit behind the ball, whereas functional medicine, we can unwrap the process of disease rather than just treat the disease. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. Um, and hopefully everyone has seen a functional medicine practitioner or had some experience with them. We do the complete diagnostic things that a standard medical doctor would do and so much more. Our blood work is much more comprehensive. It's the blood work that they used to do maybe 25, 30 years ago as a standard care. But because insurance sort of says, oh, not everyone needs that. No, not everyone needs that. They're not just not going to pay for it. And it's whittled down to a small CBC and CMP comprehensive panel and making sure you're not anemic. Whereas we do the old panels. So we get a better look at how your body is functioning from an iron point of view, from a nutrient point of view. We can glean so much information from a regular blood test with a little bit more markers that gives us some indication of where some gaps might be in your optimal health performance and your wellness journey. So we have better patient outcomes because we unwind things, we change things much earlier than at the diagnostic. Oh, we have a diagnosis of this. We have, when you look at the reports and surveys, we have higher satisfaction, patient satisfaction. When you think about it, and the research shows that 80% of the diseases can be cured or prevented by diet and lifestyle changes. But standard medicine is not set up for that. Functional medicine is. So truly the integration, the best and the optimal health choice is the integration of the two. We need those doctors to do prescriptions if we need it. If you have a thyroid going wrong and you need medication, yay, there's a doctor out there who can write a prescription and help guide you on that. But up to these points, up to these very small occurrences, most of the time, diet and lifestyle, physical changes, sleep changes can all make a huge impact. Small changes, huge impact through the functional medicine lens. How's that? Does that help? Any questions?
Yeah, you guys feel free to throw anything in the chat as we're going. I would love to actually know who has seen a functional medicine doctor. And then maybe Heidi, I would love for you to also just share a little bit about the name, or I'll say the word or title of functional medicine is really being thrown out there a lot lately. So it starts getting muddled of what a real, like when we say your title and your credentials, it's very different than a lot of people just saying like, oh, I was functional medicine trained because they were a nurse or a coach, and no disrespect to any of them, but there's different levels that I want just to do all when you're choosing a practitioner. Like, what do they need to look for in really choosing that right practitioner? Because there seems to be some, without a formal like level delineation, there is a delineation. And I think that is important to know. And I speak from the fact that as a physical therapist, some physical therapists would say, like, oh, do you treat stroke? They'd say, oh, yeah, because in school that we learned it, but we learned a tiny bit. Were they the expert in that? No. So I would give a patient a disservice if I just said, oh, you could just go to anywhere for outpatient therapy if you had a stroke. Absolutely not. Right. But people don't know, oh, I need to look for XYZ. And therefore, you can be in the right hands with the right care. So I do feel like sometimes we look and we've been told to go places, and then all of a sudden it took 2 years to find the right person. It's like, why didn't they tell me this to begin with? And so I hope that maybe gives some clarity when people are looking for practitioners, Heidi, if that is, is,
Yeah, absolutely. Good question, Kelly, because functional medicine has, where it used to be very rare to hear about functional medicine, it's a bit watered down at this point because there's a lot of different courses that give you a certification in functional medicine and this and that. But the Institute of Functional Medicine is the original. It is medically based, so it's run by medical doctors trying to integrate more naturopathic, holistic, dietary changes into their approaches. So it was created by Dr. Bland, who was just a forefather and a forethinker on like, no, we need to do this better for people. We need to create a more personalized approach because the pill for an ill or oh, you have high cholesterol, so this pill is the answer, and not look at how did we get here. There has to be a better way. There has to be more individualized care. And so, really, at this point, I would say if anyone wants to look for a functional medicine practitioner, they want to go to the ifm.org website, and we'll give you all those details, and look for someone in your area. And even look on there of someone who is certified, because that certification it's an immense amount of work because it is the juggling between medical and alternative or holistic and trying to blend the two together. So I did not come from a medical training background. I came from a holistic naturopathic background. And so trying to blend that too, it's an immense amount of work. And same thing with a doctor who's been trained in a traditional medical setting to try to make sense of what we're saying from a naturopathic point of view. And truly, that's their view. They look at us with eyes spinning, saying, "This is ridiculous. What are you talking about?" But then when they really hear the step-by-step approach and the thought process behind it, it makes so much more sense than just a pill for an ill. And so they're in it. So the doctors that are in the Institute of Functional Medicine, I'd go there. You know, their training is above and beyond. And so that's where I would recommend anybody look for that. But you want to look at somebody who that's really what they do. They don't try to dabble a little bit with over here and a little bit over there, but they're really functioning. They're looking at your personalized care. Are they giving you a lots of intake forms? Because we cannot ask the number of questions we need to ask somebody to really get an understanding of what they're experiencing, what their world is like. Were they breastfed? Were they not? Did they have a vaginal birth? Was it not? How was the health of your mother? How was the health of your grandparents? These questions we can't sit and ask. It would take us 4 hours. So we need to have really thorough questionnaires. So if you don't have a thorough questionnaire sent to you where you roll your eyes and go, this is going to take me 35 minutes, 40 minutes to answer these questions. It should. It should, because it's your life, your health, and we need to catch up to speed. It helps the doctor, the physician, the practitioner catch up to speed with your experience so they can meet you where they are. And then from there, we can ask genetic questions. We can ask dietary questions, exercise, etc. So a lot of questionnaires, expect that when you go in. If you don't get that, I'd go looking for someone else because it's about getting to know you. That's what it is. It's personalized medicine. So it's about getting to know you. And that exchange should be, it should be an exchange, not a white coat telling you what to do because I know best and I've been trained. It's hey, let's dig in here. Let's see what's happening. Let's see how you got here and where we can make some changes. It's not a to-do list. It's not a, I'm going to tell you the right thing to do. It's a guide. It's a guided approach to make personal habits for better health for you. Does that help, Kelly? Does
Yes.
that answer all the questions, I hope?
I'm just writing down a few things so that we have some takeaways after all of your speakers. And oh my gosh, such so good. Um, please, you guys, a couple of the questions that were being answered is or asked is sometimes when somebody finds somebody that maybe be more of a naturopath or outside of conventional medicine, that individual isn't doesn't want to act as somebody's primary care.
Right.
So how do you blend that primary care with this other practitioner?
That's such a great question, Kelly. It's nowadays, it's much easier than it used to be. Most practitioners or PCs are willing to you approach them and say, I'm also seeing a functional medicine practitioner to help me with my lifestyle, food choices, etc. And they will run some tests, or the PC can run some tests so you can get that at least paid by insurance because most functional medicine visits, testing is not covered by insurance. So also know that going in. And the testing is not cheap. But sometimes if your PC is more open to working with the functional medicine practitioner or in conjunction with, that's almost ideal. So they can draw some bloods that you would need and get insurance to pay for that. And then at least so they're on board as well. So in case there's anything you may need in terms of, I need a closer look, let's do an MRI to be sure, or anything like that, we have somebody who's up to date, up to speed with what you're doing and experiencing. So it's really important because here traditionally a lot of people don't even tell their PC that or their regular MD that they're seeing a functional medicine practitioner because they do get the eye rolls or the comments like, well, if you want to waste your money. So you know your doctor, you know how they might respond. If they're not going to respond positively, you may want to look for someone else who will work with a functional medicine practitioner because we can't, most functional medicine practitioners cannot uh, write prescriptions, can't code for insurance. It depends on the state you're in, but we have these limitations. You do want to work with a PC or have your PC on board or OB and etc. But a primary.
I think that's really great. And you guys, for myself and my family and for other of my friends, really, that's exactly how they're using it as working with their primary, saying, hey, my functional medicine doctor is really helping me with some of these stubborn issues. One of the things we're looking at is this test, this blood work, whatever. Are you able to order it for me for XYZ? I've never had my doctors say no. I mean, they've said, oh, of course I will, but a couple of these may or may not be covered by insurance. Okay, no problem. But then part of it is and part of it isn't. Okay, no problem. So, really bring people into your coordination of care because I know as a health practitioner myself, as I was functioning as a PT, when somebody would blindside me and be like, oh, I'm also seeing this person and this person. I'm like, wait, why didn't you tell me that in the beginning? I would have helped coordinate or like that's sometimes people don't share the whole story and it helps me as a practitioner treat people better when I know the whole story. And it's the same thing now, helping with women coaching. They don't tell me like, "Oh, yeah, well on the side I also see this, herbalist or this it could be anything." It's just interesting why I think sometimes we don't disclose because we're afraid what the other person might think. You guys, it's your life. Seek out who you want, who's helping you. You be the consumer, right? And then share with the other people in your life. They're either on board or they're not. And that's okay. It's okay. Another question popped up. It says, I'm curious if possible at the same time during the next 2 days, we can address frozen shoulder, adhesive capsulitis, and chronic UTIs non-responsive to antibiotics and post-menopause, as well as Hashimoto's. So I definitely think probably for sure we've actually got 2 sessions, you guys, in like hormones, menopause, that we can be sure to get that questions answered. But maybe even I don't know if you want to address a little bit of Hashimoto's or even frozen shoulder right now, Heidi, a little bit or not really.
I mean, we could touch on it because Hashimoto's is such a common phenomena. And oftentimes there's no real discussion about what it is. We think it's a thyroid problem because it's happening to our thyroid. It is not a thyroid problem. It's a thyroid being attacked by our own body. So our body looks at that thyroid gland as if it's something to attack. So it has lost its ability to recognize self and non-self, like, oh, that's a thyroid tissue. I don't need to kill it. I'm good. It's lost that ability. It dropped its glasses, whatever. Chemical exposure, stress, these kinds of things, pregnancies can really change that function. And so a lot of times, what people will get is just thyroid medication, or their thyroid numbers and blood work are fine, but their antibody level against their thyroid are very high. So they have diagnosed Hashimoto's, but their thyroid gland is fine, but the only treatment they really have is to throw thyroid medication at it. And that's not always the answer because it's not a thyroid problem, it's an immune problem. And there's the difference. And so while we might need that thyroid medication to help support that gland while it's being destroyed by those antibodies, that's when a functional medicine practitioner can come in to help regulate your immune system to calm down the attack against that thyroid. So you're getting that twofold support on Hashimoto's. I really don't think in standard medicine there's that twofold support. It's medication and then good luck. We'll up the medication or change the dose according to the damage of the tissue, but nothing's really done about reducing the autoimmune activity. Does that help?
I think that was perfect. So that was
Okay.
Kendall asking. So hopefully that helped Kendall. And it's very, very common. And I mean, we were just on a call yesterday, and one of the 2 women, had it and said, "Oh, well, so does my this person's daughter." And oh, so it was like, and so we have to be careful when things become too, we hear it too often that we label it as normal. Oh, it's normal as women. A lot of us get it. It's just normal. It's actually common. We hear it a lot, so it's common. but is not normal for our bodies to attack itself. Something else is going on. And so we hope in this empowerment, ladies, is, oh, that is such a true statement. It is common. I'm hearing it. But oh, that's so interesting. It's not normal. So otherwise, we're like, oh, we have these aches and pains. Yeah, yeah, we're just getting older. We let it be okay. And that's what we don't want. We need you to be the like critical thinkers, asking questions, dive deep, take control. No, let's go deep on this. And honestly, learning how to problem solve and learning how to ask better questions is a skill.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a skill because we're not, like Kelly said in the beginning, we're not given that I guess permission or that encouragement to do so. You go into a doctor, he gives you 10 minutes, he or she gives you 10 minutes. There's a prescription pad, and Dr. Bland always said the quickest way to end a conversation with your doctor is when he pulls out the prescription pad. Then the conversation's over because the prescription's been done. We'll see you later, right? So you want to ask questions. You want to hold off on that. Wait a minute. Have we covered everything? Have we looked at all the angles? Ask those questions.
Ask those questions, yes. And then, briefly, obviously, really, for all of this, it's kind of hard to answer questions because so much of it is asking more questions to be able to answer the question as a practitioner. So when somebody says, like, can you address frozen shoulder? That I could go on for an hour talking about frozen shoulder. But usually for somebody, like some sort of trauma has happened to the person. And it doesn't even need to be to the necessarily to the shoulder. I know this seems weird. But again, it's a little bit like the body is going to protective mode, holding down that capsule in the shoulder, correct? Because we think about our shoulder is so mobile, everybody, that capsule inside there has got to allow that movement in all those directions, and not just the shoulder and arm moving, but the ball and socket gliding and sliding in there. There's all these accessory movements, just in case you guys want to know all those really good details. But the capsule holds it tight, so you try to move your arm and it can't do those accessory movements to glide, rotate, spin to move. And then people do this funky compensation thing because the whole capsule gets stuck. So it's a little bit autoimmune-ish. The body is telling you something's, struggling somewhere. So really you need a deeper dive on what's happening inside your body. You don't just get it for no reason. There's usually something that is precipitating this. So, again, seeing, again, not, I wouldn't even say like just go to a regular physical therapist because they wouldn't just know. It's interesting. So before you see any practitioner, tell yourself, what are the 3 or 4 or 5 questions that I need to know to ask a practitioner to know if that's the right person for me? Right? And
And
maybe
what I will throw in on that is when we get these sort of strange phenomena, they're not strange. It's our body who is always trying to protect us, which is why Kelly said it's in protective mode and it doesn't want you to move that joint for some reason or other, right? And it's figuring out why is this the answer it's giving me? When I'm going on about my life, why is my body saying this? It's different from what I want, right? But try to put yourself in your body's shoes and say, well, what is it trying to tell me? Because it will give us warnings, it will give us whispers, it will let us know way in advance before it becomes a problem. And here's one thing about frozen shoulder, it's neurological, right? I mean, I want to write the books like everything's neurological because our brain is the thing that's telling everything else to work, isn't it? We only worry about it when we get brain fog or when we have worry. But our brain is telling us things way, way before all of that happens. And oftentimes it takes someone who's trained in functional medicine or PT like Kelly to say, what's your diet like? Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting enough protein to make neurotransmitters, to get enough dopamine, to get your muscles to move and stop and activate and stop, and your cerebellum to work and do all these things neurologically? Does your brain have the fuel to do what it takes to move your body, to keep you upright, to keep you performing? So always think of that too. If people have had brain injuries, oftentimes they won't show up till 20 years later. a concussion, a bad car wreck. No, I'm fine. But the brain will tell, and sometimes it takes about 20 years for that to show up. So think about your brain as well when you're going to PT, when you're doing these things. Diet has it plays a big part in how our brain functions and be able to make anti-inflammatory neurotransmitters and to function properly and fire at the right rate that it should. And that'd be more complicated than you wanted to hear, but there we are.
I don't think so. And that's why we can go see, this practitioner, this practitioner, this practitioner. But if nobody's like the CEO, right? If there isn't a practitioner that's overseeing and talking and coordinating that, you might be spinning your wheels and wasting some money. Again, another reason that Heidi and I decided to bring a membership into what we're doing is because we want you guys to have this place to ask questions so we can bring in more experts and we can have bigger discussions. Oh, ask your practitioner this. Did you ask this? It could be this. It's pretty powerful to be able to have a mentor, a coach, a concierge functional medicine doctor in your back pocket every week to then like go on life and say like, "Oh, I'm not alone." And I'm learning to be ask better questions and I'm really learning to be empowered. So it's fun to groom a group of women to be in this elevated life. So, any last closing thoughts on functional medicine, Heidi, before we wrap your session?
No, I think go find one in your area and don't be afraid to say that wasn't a good fit. Go find another one. Look around, and be picky.
Yeah.
It's your life.
It's your life. It's your life. Absolutely. All right, ladies. Well, each of our sessions we're going to be ending around now so that everybody has a chance to use the little girls' room, go get some hydration. We hope you're going to go walk and get about, I don't know, 100 steps in, get your, 10 squats in, do a few yoga stretches, wake up your brain again. That's important. Sitting here too much, we need to we all do. So I'm going to pull us off screen. You guys can just put your camera off, whatever you want to do, and we will start right back up on the hour with Miss Julie Durr. Thanks, everyone.